Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast. Before we get into today's episode with Jerry previewing the Chelsea game, I just want to give you a slight disclaimer. We recorded this episode, me and Jerry did, the day after Chelsea beat Brighton 3-1. So that was Tuesday, and we're previewing a game for Sunday, which is tomorrow. And obviously, between Tuesday and Sunday, a lot of things have happened. If you're a Liverpool fan, if you're a football fan in general, you know that Liverpool have unveiled Thiago Alcantara as an official player, and he could in fact very well be in line to make his first start if the paperwork, as it's been claimed, has cleared through the Premier League offices. But at the time when we were discussing this whole preview to the game at Stamford Bridge, me and Jerry, we didn't know that Thiago was going to be announced this week. I mean, both me and Jerry, in the words of Sebastian Vettel, who's a Formula One driver, for those of you who don't know, in the words of Sebastian Vettel, both me and Jerry have balls, but neither of them are crystal. So we couldn't really predict what was going to happen over the course of the week. But obviously, a lot of developments. Thiago is coming in for Liverpool. Diogo Jota might be coming in and being he looks like he might be signed by Liverpool over the coming days. So, obviously that part is not included in the preview that me and Jerry did. So do keep that in mind when you're listening to it. But otherwise, nothing much to say. Let's just get right to the episode. If you do want to catch my reaction to Thiago's signing, it's the episode just before this. I published it last night, put it up last night, so it should be okay. And one other piece of good news: this podcast has been accepted by Amazon Music as well, so it's been launched on Amazon Music. So apart from Spotify and Acast, you will find it there as well. But that about brings me to the end of the disclaimer. On to the podcast itself now. When you think of footballing rivalries, you tend to think of teams that either have a noisy neighbour problem, like Manchester United and Manchester City, or you tend to think of rivalries that are rooted in political reasons, like Liverpool and Manchester United, for example. But in the mid 2000s, there were two teams in particular in the Premier League who had no real historical issue between them, nor was one in the vicinity of the other team. And yet, the two of them would form a fierce rivalry that would define clashes between them ever since. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast. And in today's episode, we look forward to the Battle of the Bridge this Sunday between Chelsea and Liverpool. And to preview the game with me and talk more about Chelsea Football Club today is a friend of mine, a doctor who's studying hard for his postgrad entrance exam. So I've basically pulled him out of doing something productive. And more importantly, a blues fan from Bangalore, Jerry George Mudasheri. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Just have the COVID blues, if you get it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had to start with a bad joke, but
but I'm glad that the Premier League is back because I had nothing else to watch on TV. So yeah,
that's true. It is. But thankfully, it was like a very short preseason, so it wasn't like the usual sort of 2-month, 3-month wait before you actually get to see Premier League again. Both Liverpool and Chelsea coming out of match day one with like very uncharacteristic wins, let's say. Liverpool conceded way too many and Chelsea attacked way less than I thought they would. So we'll start with that. So both of us, obviously this was off air and both of us had watched the Brighton game last night. What was your thoughts on that?
Okay, to start off, the formation itself was a little different. If you looked on paper, it looked like a 4-2-2-2. I've never seen this before. So, but during the game, I'm sure. Mount pushed to the left and Havertz pushed to the right, and Havertz is definitely clearly out of position. He doesn't know how to make those runs in the wings, and I think the two standouts were Werner and Reece James. Those two played well, and but I'm really scared for our defense because Alonso was making a lot of mistakes, and Kepa, I think he's just out of confidence because there were a few corners in which he committed but never reached the ball. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because, see, I don't understand why Kepa comes out for that because his natural limitation as a keeper is the fact that he's short. He's on the shorter side for a goalkeeper. And obviously being short doesn't mean you're going to be a bad keeper because I think even Casillas was quite short. But the thing is, like you said, I don't think he's very confident sometimes. And that shows, in some of his decision making and stuff. And the goal that he conceded, initially when I saw the goal, I thought it was just out of his reach. Like maybe I thought it was because of his height, honestly. Maybe David De Gea. But then I saw the replay. They showed the camera from behind the goal, and the ball literally goes right under his arm. So I was like, that any keeper should be making a save out of that. Like if you're playing in the Premier League, you should be making a save out of that. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it was weird. Havertz didn't have a good game, but
didn't have a good game
at all. But Werner was impressive. Like he was, I think he was taken off late in the game, but I think around 80 minutes or something he was taken off. But he played really well. And you watched the game against Leeds also. So the Liverpool game against Leeds. Your thoughts on Liverpool and Leeds at that point?
I was actually very impressed with Leeds, the way they played, because they didn't look scared at all. Like from the start till the end, they looked determined, like from the top. So I mean, I think this season they're going to do well. I don't know about next season. They're going to do well, and they're also looking for some smart buys. Like they got Rodrigo from Valencia, and they're also looking for one of Chelsea's youth players, Conor Gallagher. They're trying to sign him permanently, but I don't think that'll happen. But I like the style of play that he adopts, and I think both of them had similar styles of play, very attacking. The only thing was probably what was out of character was probably Virgil van Dijk. I mean, he made mistakes, but I mean that's just very rare, and I would forgive him for those mistakes. It happens. I mean, with such a high line, and
yeah. See, and that's kind of my worry, and we'll get to sort of Liverpool versus Chelsea later on in the show towards the end. But like you said, the high line's kind of been a little bit of my worry. I've never been a big fan of the high line, but Liverpool do tend to do it quite well, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, very uncharacteristic mistakes. I don't know if that will resolve itself over the course of the season. But to be completely honest, like this, we've seen this in preseason for us. And we've seen this towards the back end of last season and like after restart, and especially after we won the title, like everyone just slacked off, and it seems like they've just not picked themselves up for some reason. And I'm being pessimistic because obviously we won the title and people will be like, oh, Liverpool's up there, one of the top two teams and all of that. And that's true, but we can't make mistakes like that against teams like Chelsea even, or Arsenal, or any team basically. We can't make mistakes. We got lucky with the fact that Leeds made some rookie errors, which led to penalties. But if there's another game and Leeds don't make those mistakes, Leeds could very well have come out with 3 points out of that game.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I think Van Dijk has played every single minute of last season, right? Without.
He played all 38 games. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe he deserves one day off. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows, man? Who knows? You and I couldn't play like 38 games for college playing in the Premier League.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, Chelsea, like I said, Werner and Havertz made their debuts, and obviously the biggest talking point I think this transfer window has been Chelsea, like, and for good reason. But they've been the biggest talking points, like even more than City, even more than Liverpool, anyone, and for the right reasons, I think, a lot of the time. So we've got Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva, Hakim Ziyech, who was signed a while back but joined this window, Ben Chilwell and Malang Sarr, and potentially we have Edouard Mendy coming in and Declan Rice. So we're talking at least about how many? Six to 8 players, even if Rice and Mendy don't work out. You're talking 6 players.
Yeah,
that's a lot of change for a team. Do you think so? Last season, one of the things that Lampard was sort of, I guess, forced into it, but also appreciated for, was allowing the development of players like Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham, for example. So, do you think they'll be affected by all these signings?
I think they'll definitely be affected. Even if you look at Chelsea's strike right now, I think Werner will definitely get his place. Giroud's also been really consistent, and Tammy not that much. So I think Tammy could lose his place. Also, I mean, Hudson-Odoi, he's being paid quite a lot, and for that much, I mean, he's not producing like he should be. So there were some transfer rumors of Bayern Munich thinking of signing him again. But I'm not sure. I hope that Lampard can bring them into the team. If you see last season, actually, in 49 games that Chelsea played, Chelsea had 17 different combinations of back four. So
Mm.
Lampard actually likes rotating a lot, which is a good thing. But the squad is actually really big right now, and I don't know if we can accommodate everyone. Right now, we have, I think, just four injuries actually. So Pulisic is out, Thiago Silva is out, Ziyech is out, Billy Gilmore is out, and even Werner has a thigh contusion. So can't say for sure if
Yeah, but I think
he'll
Werner
be.
should be back for the Liverpool game. That's what he said. By within a week it should be fine.
Okay.
And as for Pulisic, I think Lampard said within the next few weeks, Pulisic should be back. But as for, I mean, the thing is, like you said, Chelsea's kind of stacked as a team. And this obviously they've gone out and bought Timo Werner, who I think is, if he like Chelsea have had a sort of hit and miss thing with strikers. Like they've had big hits like Drogba, for example, and guys like Torres and Shevchenko who haven't worked out quite as well. So, and that's the case with like any team, like any transfer, it's a hit and miss thing. You never know if it's going to work out. But Werner, from obviously one game is a very small sample size. But from yesterday, it looks like he suits well with Chelsea and he fits well with that team. And he gives you versatility also. He can play on the wings, not his best position, but he has played on left wing. If Lampard wants to play Abraham more, then you could end up seeing Werner on the left. Maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it's just, like I said, Chelsea is just very, very stacked right now. But I think the weakness for Chelsea, and I'm surprised they didn't address it more, is the back line. Like you said, there were 17 different combinations of the back four. I think part of it is rotation. I think part of it is Lampard trying to find which four work best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Thiago Silva is obviously going to add experience, I think. I mean, I'm talking here as a Liverpool fan, but what are your thoughts on like signing Silva? Like Silva and Malang Sarr as well, and Chilwell. So those are three of the new boys in the back line.
I think Chilwell is the most obvious signing because Marcus Alonso hasn't been very consistent, and defensively he's quite bad. We saw in the Brighton game how bad he was actually, because he just let Lamptey run all over him and cut past him and almost took a shot and all that. So I'm sure, I mean, Alonso, something has to be done about that side. Reece James was really good. Reece James defended well, even attacked well. So, I mean, as a wingback, he's doing pretty well. And I think maybe one thing Chelsea's defense is lacking is experience, probably. So Thiago Silva, that way, is a smart signing. Malang Sarr, I'm not very sure. He's quite young also, and I think Chelsea was thinking of loaning him off. I am not very sure.
No, there were a couple of Bundesliga teams who wanted him.
Leverkusen, I think was
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much of a role he'll play, but Silva has a lot of experience, and that's true. Chelsea do need experience. I mean, Thiago Silva is obviously not a long-term solution, but in the short term, for maybe 1 or 2 years, I think till Kurt Zouma and maybe Christensen, for example, get more experience, more, get better. I mean, basically as defenders, I think he'll help them.
Yeah, like
Kai
big
Havertz,
personalities.
Sorry,
like big personalities like Van Dijk, right? And even Harry Maguire to some extent, and
I don't think after this summer Harry Maguire is going to be a big personality at United. But, so I mean, I don't know, or maybe he will be a big personality because that whole thug life thing that I've been to jail and everything, but you never know. But Kai Havertz, so he was played out of position yesterday. I don't think right wing is going to be his position long term. Like I think it was more of a stopgap thing against Brighton. Although I'm a little surprised Hudson-Odoi didn't start that game. I don't know if there was some fitness issue or whatever. But Kai Havertz, my thing is last season Mason Mount was one of the stars who sort of came up. And I think the biggest person who benefited out of all the transfer ban and everything, he got his England caps as well. So I think Mason Mount might be the one who's most affected by Kai Havertz's arrival. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. What is your opinion on those two players comparatively?
Yeah, I think, of all the youth players who started last season, Mason Mount definitely produced the most. I mean, he was involved in a lot of goals and he's just continuously running and he's very energetic. And I think I mean, he deserves his place on the team, and I think that Lampard will definitely fit him in. Lampard definitely thinks of rotating the squad a lot, so I think Mount will get to play games. I'm just worried about whether he'll be happy playing league games, I mean, League Cup games and FA Cup games. I mean, he may want to start the Premier League more. So I think Howard still has to prove himself. That is still there. So
Mm.
it will take a few games. I think it will take, I mean, at least 5, 6 games for him to settle in, to figure out how Werner plays, how the wingers move. I mean, all those things. And I think so. In that time, Mount can definitely, show up. And I think if he proves himself, he'll keep his place. Lampard that way, he wouldn't be partial towards Havertz. Yeah. So that's what I think.
True. My thing is, so it's very hard. So one idea I did think of was to try and fit Mount and Havertz together in midfield, but then that would, like, defensively, that's a nightmare. Offensively, it'll be very good, but defensively, that's a nightmare having Havertz and Mount play together. But and if it's like yesterday, then I wouldn't be surprised if Havertz doesn't fit well on the right wing. So for me, I don't know how Lampard balances that. And given that this is a year that's leading up to the European Championships, for both of them, for Havertz and Mount, it's sort of important that they play, because Havertz, as good as he is, he's not a fixture in the German team. Mount, as good as he is, he's not a fixture in the England team. So for both of them, they need games. And and potentially you could also see Declan Rice arriving into that midfield. Your thoughts on Declan Rice as a player? Because I have some interesting opinions on Declan Rice, but I'll let you go first.
Okay, Declan Rice. So the thing I'm worried about is that Chelsea is trying to sell off Kante to make space for Declan Rice, and I really like Kante. He's a hardworking player, and he's disciplined. He defends well, and I mean he's a senior player in a very important position. And replacing him with someone who's more unexperienced, who still hasn't proven himself, someone like Declan Rice, I think it's a big risk. But I don't know, maybe Lampard sees something in him which is different. He is a good player, definitely, but I don't know if he's that level yet to replace Kante. Or maybe they could play side by side, I don't know.
So my thing was Declan Rice, like when I first saw him, and still like to this day, I don't find him that impressive, to be honest. I think he's good. Like he deserves a place in like the top 6. But I don't know if he's going to turn your team into like a title contender. Like you look at Liverpool's got Fabinho in that same place. City a few years back had Fernandinho there. I think Chelsea want him to be that kind of a player, guy who can like intercept and stop attacking moves from the opposition, get the ball and play like a good pass. But I don't know if he's still young, obviously. So he's got age on his side, but I don't know if he's that good yet. Like you're talking Fabinho and Fernandinho, who are two of the best players there. As for Kante, I think he's a very good player, but I don't think he suits Lampard. Kante's never played as a number 6. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't sit in front of the defense and defend the way. Like I said, I keep going back to Fabinho because I know Fabinho best, but he doesn't do that. Like he'll run up and down the pitch and defend. So he'll defend at the other person's D and he'll come back and defend at your D, but he'll keep running up and down. And I don't know if Lampard likes that kind of a midfielder there. So I don't know. We addressed the backline and we spoke a little bit about Kepa. Edouard Mendy coming in. I don't know how much you know about Mendy. I haven't watched too much of French football. But from what I know, like he's a good keeper and he'll definitely be an upgrade on Kepa, I think. But I just don't know if he is like a top keeper.
Yeah. From what I've heard is that his professional career has just recently started. It hasn't been a long while since he started playing football. So, that's definitely something we have to worry about because the Premier League is really challenging and the Premier League does not give you time. If you do not produce the results quickly, then you will be thrown out. I mean, that's what I feel. Unless you've been bought for a big price like Torres. But most of the time, if you don't produce results quickly, then Roman is not going to stand for that. He's going to find somebody to replace you. Yeah. So I think maybe he wouldn't start in the beginning, maybe Lampard will test him in some cup games, figure out how he plays, and if he's ready for the league games. I'm not sure. So I mean, he must have been uh, checked before we bought him, right? I'm not very sure. I haven't seen how he's
Yeah,
played.
no, I think Marina Granovskaya, I think she's the one in charge of all your transfers and stuff in at Chelsea. I think she's, to me, I think like the second best like executive in the Premier League after Michael Edwards at Liverpool. So I think she would have done her homework on him. Like I don't think it's a bad buy. Like if she buys someone, it's not like 90%. It's not going to be a bad buy. But
Okay.
yeah, like I said, I don't know how much of an improvement on Kepa that is. And to be honest, like you said it earlier, I think it's just a confidence thing with Kepa. Like
Yeah.
he is a good keeper, which is why Chelsea bought him in the first place. And when Chelsea bought him, it was a high price, but nobody was like, "Oh, this guy, he's Chelsea have overpaid for this guy." Like nobody was saying that because he was a good keeper at Bilbao. So I don't know. Maybe like you said, I think it's just a confidence thing. I think he should get better. I don't know if that means going out of Chelsea to get better. We've seen that happen with Kevin De Bruyne, for example. We've seen that happen with Mo Salah. I know I had to bring up Kevin De Bruyne because but no, I mean, see, I don't know if that means like going out of Chelsea or maybe sitting out a couple of games. I don't know what it is, or maybe just playing in the cup games or whatever it is. But I think it's just a confidence thing with Kepa. I think he's a good keeper. Yesterday's game against Brighton, I don't know if that's going to be a reflection of the way Lampard plays this entire season, because to me that is not a typical Chelsea team. Like that's not how I would expect. Now, obviously, you're going to have games like that throughout the season. You can't expect every game to be like fluid and scoring 5-6 goals a game. That's not how the Premier League is. But I don't know if yesterday was a one-off, or like, what do you think in general of what you've seen from Lampard across one season and going into this season with all the new signings and everything? How do you think Chelsea is going to play? Like his style.
I think so. The next match against Liverpool will be completely different because there's one more player who's going to come into the team. That's Kovacic. So he was actually out on suspension, and last season he played really well. So I think him back into the team is going to be really helpful, and I think the formation is going to be different. He's going to go back to his 3-4-3, I think, with Reece James and Alonso on the wings. And I think it will be competitive, but maybe because they haven't played with each other, it will be a little one-sided, I feel. So Chelsea may score a few goals, but I think they're going to lose at the end of the day. So because it's too early for us to actually be competing, I feel. So yeah, I think this season it's just going to be like bringing the boys together and like properly competing. I would imagine next season. So not anytime soon, I believe.
Is there a lot of pressure on him to win a trophy? Like I'm not talking Premier League or Champions League, but I'm saying at least the FA Cup, if not anything else, because Arteta's got a trophy now, and Lampard has had 1 year. He's got the players he's wanted. So how much pressure is there now amongst the big six? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has the support of his board. Like whether he deserves it or not is another question, but he has it. Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, I don't see them going out of their jobs. Jose Mourinho, unless Spurs have an absolute disaster of a start, I don't see him getting fired this year. And Arsenal, Mikel Arteta's just won a trophy for Arsenal. So I think out of the big six, Lampard is under the most pressure. Now, I'm not saying he'll get sacked by the end of September or October, but I'm saying if one of the big six managers was to be fired, I think I'd have my money on Frank Lampard to go first. So how much pressure is there on him to win a trophy for Chelsea?
I think it's all because of how much they've spent. I do believe personally that it's unnecessary. Players who are not proven, like Ben Chilwell and Thiago Silva is a bit old. I mean, he's definitely going to be a good, valuable addition, but you can't say, because the Premier League is competitive. There are a lot of matches which happen in the Premier League compared to the French League. The French League, there aren't as many matches. So we don't know how long Thiago Silva can play without getting injured and tired. So I think what they've done is they've taken a gamble because Frank Lampard has to go all in. With Roman, you have to produce results. You can't build. He wants results quickly. but I think he will give him this one season to build his team. But if they do really badly, now I'm saying if they're below the top six, I have a feeling Frank Lampard will go. I don't think Roma is expecting a cup. If we do win something, then it's a good addition. But I don't expect him to win a cup. But we need to remain in the Champions League. That is one thing. Because next season we should be competing. We should have won something by the end of next season. So that's what I think. If by the end of next season he doesn't win anything, I'm pretty sure Lampard's out. But this season, I think he's going to give him a bit of leeway because we didn't make any transfers last season. So I think this season will be the build-up season.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, I think that makes sense. This season, obviously. So my thing was, so personally, I think Lampard's under a lot of pressure to win a trophy, whether that's the League Cup or the FA Cup. If he can win the Premier League or the Champions League, then fair play. I mean, he probably deserves it at that point. But I think there's a lot of pressure on him to win a trophy this year because of the money that's been spent and the players who've been bought. Because you're talking Timo Werner, who's been one of the best or most sought after strikers, Kai Havertz, who's one of the most sought after midfielders, and like I can see where you're coming from because you need all these players to gel together and things like that. And Werner, Havertz, these are all long-term buys. You're not buying them for like 1 or 2 seasons. Even Chilwell, for example, you're buying him for like the next 3-4 years. So I think more than this year, maybe next year and the year after that, I think Chelsea would want to win one of the big trophies. But I think there is still more pressure on Frank to win a trophy this time than other managers. And part of it is, I think, the fact that Arteta won the FA Cup. Because if it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer who wins the FA Cup, for example, I don't think there's as much pressure on Lampard because I don't know, but now because now people will be like Arteta's a new manager as well. He came in later than Frank Lampard, and he's imposed his style on Arsenal, and they've won a trophy. So what is Lampard doing? That's going to be the next question, which is a little unfair because they're two different clubs, two different situations. Both managers have walked into different club situations. It's very different too, and it's kind of unfair to compare that. But I think there is going to be more pressure on him. Liverpool versus Chelsea, first home game of the season for Chelsea, first away game for us. How much of a miss do you think is the Stamford Bridge crowd going to be?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to be a miss because I mean it's a small stadium, so it's all packed together, and I think maybe Chelsea fans are nothing. I mean, they're not as loud as Liverpool fans, but definitely it would affect Chelsea. Because the fans definitely do provide an extra edge to Chelsea. Yeah.
So my thing is, like you said, Stamford Bridge is somewhat like Anfield in that sense because both these stadiums are like, when you sit in the stands, you're just like right next to the field pretty much. So, and for some reason, I always find like Chelsea fans, you say the atmosphere is not as good. I personally, I think I disagree because I think Chelsea fans, when they have big teams coming down to the bridge, I think they are quite insane. Like the noise that you get even on TV is quite loud. Whether that's louder than Anfield or not, that's I think depends from game to game, honestly. But I think the bridge crowd is pretty intimidating, especially because, like you said, they're very close to the pitch and it feels like they're just right on top of you. So I think the Stamford Bridge crowd is going to be a big miss, especially more because it's the first game of the season. Like if this was like the 10th game of the season or something, may not be as much of an effect. But first game of the season, Chelsea, first home game that is, Chelsea Liverpool in a normal year would have been a pretty big spectacle. So I think that's going to be a big miss for Chelsea. We saw the starting 11 for Chelsea against Brighton. Who do you see? Obviously, you said there'll be a change in formation. Do you see Havertz sort of moving back to central midfield? What is your sort of idea of an 11 that might start against Liverpool?
Okay. Strike. Hopefully Havertz will be fit by then. So definitely Havertz would start if he is fit. If he isn't fit, then I'd expect Giroud to start. And Mount will definitely play, I feel. So he would probably take one of the wings. Pulisic won't be there. I think Hudson-Odoi should be given a chance. And maybe not play Havertz because he didn't seem really in the game, the whole of the Brighton game. him and, oh my God, Ruben Loftus-Cheek was terrible. So we are not going to see him. I'm pretty sure against
No, we were
Liverpool.
yeah, I don't think we're going to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek because there was a bunch of people talking in the Liverpool group, the Liverpool supporters group. Like we were just talking, watching the Chelsea game, and someone said, Havertz is having a stinker, and the reply to that was, and somehow Ruben Loftus-Cheek is doing worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think Loftus-Cheek is going to start the game against Liverpool.
Yeah, and I think in the middle it'll be Kovacic, Jorginho, and Kante. I don't know what configuration. I'm mostly guessing those three will be up there, and Reece James and Alonso. He will have to stick to Alonso despite everything because between Emerson and Alonso, he prefers Alonso. And I think he may try Azpilicueta. I'm not very sure.
I think Azpilicueta will start because he did come on towards the end against Brighton. So I think he may be more match fit against Liverpool by the time Liverpool come around. And I think if Pulisic is fit, he starts. There's no way Pulisic should be on the bench.
If and he may even come on as sub, just like the previous match against Liverpool when we guys won 5-3. Yeah, and he was so important. So I think.
Yeah, I think that game Pulisic just absolutely changed it. The 5-3 game, and so I think if Pulisic is fit, if he's match fit and if he can play even 70-80 minutes, I think he will start the game for sure. And in defense, the three that you've got, who do you think? I think Christensen did. I think Christensen did all right yesterday. Christensen and Zuma.
Yeah.
I think those will be there.
Yeah, that's true. Rudiger probably wouldn't get in. Christensen, Zuma, and who was the last person who was there?
Do you think Thiago Silva is not fit? No.
No, he's not fit. He's still out. So it's just those two, I guess. No, those two, and it'll probably have to be Azpilicueta. If they're playing three at the back. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, then one of the midfielders will probably be missing. So I would think Jorginho wouldn't start. So it could be Kante and Kovacic.
Yeah, makes sense. I think midfield is not what should worry Chelsea too much because we don't tend to play too much through our midfield either. I think most of our players, Trent and Robertson, going up and down the pitch. So I wouldn't worry too much about midfield. I think Kante and Kovacic, if they do start together, I think that'll be good enough. Or if maybe even Kovacic and Mount. It's a little bit of a risk to play those two because defensively it's a little bit more of a compromise. But I could see Lampard playing that, or maybe he moves Havertz back to central midfield or something. I don't know. But personally, for Liverpool, I think I think it should be an unchanged lineup from last game, pretty much.
Naby Keita and
Naby Keita did well. Except I think Fabinho didn't start the game last time, so I think Fabinho will definitely start this time. I think it might be Fabinho, Henderson, and Keita starting the game against Chelsea. So I think Wijnaldum might be benched.
Do you think Minamino will get a start?
Personally, I thought he should have come on last game. I don't think he'll get a start because the guy he usually comes on for is Firmino. So I don't think he'll get a start. But that being said, Firmino's not looked great through preseason and even the first game. I wouldn't, and Minamino's looked really good since preseason. So I honestly wanted him to come on last game. And if Firmino continues to see, the thing is with Klopp, he sticks to his guys, which is sometimes to his detriment. He stuck with Alberto Moreno for so long at left back when he was there. And the only reason Robertson got into the team was, I think, because Moreno got injured. So he just stuck to Moreno for so long, even when we knew he was a liability. If Moreno played, that left-hand side was going to be carnage for us. So the thing is, even if Firmino's bad on form, I don't expect him to get dropped. And Minamino's been really good though. If Firmino has a bad run for 4 or 5 games, then if I was manager, I would put Minamino in the starting lineup just to see how it goes. But how do you see the game playing out? Because at the start of the show, I said, the Brighton game was not how I expected Chelsea to play. The Leeds game was not how I expected Liverpool to play. So How do you see this game playing out?
So I was just going through the previous game in which Chelsea played Liverpool. So that ended up as 5-3. And if you see, in the first half, it was Liverpool who dominated. And in the second half, Chelsea started to dominate. And I think that was because we had the five substitute rule that time. So that isn't there right now. So we could just throw in a lot of attackers, and we managed to get two goals through Tammy and Pulisic. I'm hoping that Lampard has figured out something, because Jurgen Klopp doesn't change much, because he sticks to the same tactics and the same players. I'm hoping that Lampard has figured out something. So, I mean, that could be one thing. And also, the thing with Lampard is he keeps changing his teams. So maybe Jurgen doesn't know what to expect, and he'll probably have to adapt in the game. So I'm hoping that's like a slight advantage that could play to Chelsea, but but mostly it looks like Chelsea is going to lose this one, and I just hope it isn't a bad loss. But yeah.
No. See, the thing is, there's two ways of looking at that. So yeah, you're right. In terms of Lampard, Lampard changes more than Jurgen Klopp does. So that could work out one way or the other. Like you said, it could mean Jurgen Klopp has to adapt in game. It could also mean Chelsea. That comes at a cost a little bit to Chelsea. Maybe the first half they don't have that cohesion as much. Maybe in the second half they get it, because they're used to playing with each other now for a few minutes. But the first sort of 10-15 minutes there's going to be a getting used to period for Chelsea. It could play out either way. I think for me personally, this year, I don't know why we've started doing this. I mentioned this on WhatsApp when we were talking about the Liverpool game. I don't know why we've started playing that. Like, we play one centre back ahead of the other. Like, whichever side the ball is on, that centre back would always be a little ahead of the defensive line. The other centre back would be behind. We did this in 2017-18 when we lost to Real Madrid in the final. Lovren that season used to keep getting caught out. Van Dijk also has been caught out in that season a few times. I don't know why we have reverted back to that, because last season we didn't do that too much with Gomez or with Van Dijk or with Matip, like any of them. So I don't know why we've started doing that. If Liverpool do that, and if Liverpool play a very high line, we can get caught out. Leeds showed that brilliantly. Like, all it needs is one good run from one of your wingers. In the Leeds game, it was Jack Harrison for that first goal, and Calvin Phillips played a brilliant ball that found him. If Chelsea can do the same thing, especially if Pulisic starts, that's the guy I'm most scared of, Pulisic, because he's capable of scoring goals and he's capable of assisting. And based off of yesterday's game, even if Pulisic doesn't start, if Werner keeps drifting out to that left-hand side, which he kept doing yesterday, he just kept going to that left-hand side and getting runs. He would cut in from the left. So if he gets that against Liverpool, and he's quite likely to get that because Trent spends a lot of his time in the opposition half. He can track back, of course, and Gomez is quite fast. And, playing Liverpool is a different ask to playing Brighton. But I think Werner and Pulisic, I think, are going to be key for Chelsea, in my opinion. How we contain those two is going to be important. I don't know who's going to start on the right wing. If it's Kai Havertz, he's going to have a very bad time against Robertson, because that's not his natural position, and Robertson is good at defending. So if it's Kai Havertz, it's a bad call, I think, from Lampard if he plays on the right wing again. If it's Hudson-Odoi, inexperienced, but he is a natural right winger, so could play out either way. Up front, it's just going to be the three of them. Sadio Mane, Salah, and Firmino. So up front, I don't think, like you said, there's not much. Like it's like beating a dead horse. Like, there's not much about Liverpool that is very unknown. So
But I think in the Leeds match, when we watched, what I saw was, even though Leeds kept on scoring back, I didn't think that Salah and Mane were that fazed by it. Even that there was one play in which Salah and Mane were passing to each other, and you could see that the chemistry was good, and that they were smiling and having fun, really. So
I think. See, the chemistry is there and everything's there, and it's easier to come back against Leeds than it is to come back against Chelsea any day. So if I don't know, like I don't think, and even in the Leeds game, I don't think I had a problem with the way the midfield played or the front line played. Like, I think they did well. Firmino had an off game, but it wasn't that bad also. The back line was what I was embarrassed by, honestly. Like, I told you they were more open than Mia Khalifa, honestly. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm worried about. And I said this on the Liverpool group, and I said this on our class group as well. Like, if we go to Stamford Bridge like this with this defense, we're going to get rinsed by Werner. And Werner looked really good yesterday. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, predictions for Sunday's game.
Okay, so from what I saw, what other people were predicting, other people predicted 1-1 as a draw. And if you look at the past matches, only the previous match was a high-scoring match, 5-3. But I think even this match is going to be high-scoring because I feel just like the way Leeds and Liverpool play, Chelsea and Liverpool are also going to play in a similar way, which are going to be more like outscoring each other. So I'm going for a high goal-scoring match, something like 3-2, Liverpool winning.
That's actually that's actually uncanny because my prediction was also going to be a 3-2 Liverpool.
Yes.
Yeah, because the thing is, see, last season I would have said it would probably be like a 2-1 or a 1-0. But this season our defense has not started this season well, and I'm not just basing that on the Leeds game. The preseason was also not great, let's say.
Yeah.
The front line has kind of got into their groove. The midfield has kind of been okay. And for Chelsea, I think especially if Pulisic plays, then we're going to have problems with the way we played our defense. And the defense really needs to improve. And that goes for like everyone from Alisson to Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk, and whoever plays with Van Dijk, whether it's Matip or Gomez. But Gomez was just basically missing last game. We basically played with 10 men. Might as well not have played. But I can't afford to have those sort of performances against Chelsea. So yeah, that's kind of where I think we're going to end it. So we're both going with a 3-2 win to Liverpool. Any predictions on who is going to score the 5 goals?
One of the goals is going to be Salah because I have on my FPL team. I can imagine Trent scoring 1, and why not give 1 to Mane? Chelsea, it's just going to be 1 or 2 players. I don't expect to see many different players scoring. So if Werner's playing, I'm expecting Werner to score both the goals. And if we hopefully get a penalty, I think Jorginho will score. So yeah, those are the people I'm.
Makes sense. If Salah scores, honestly, another Salah hat-trick would be nice. For FPL as well. But I think for Chelsea, I would say Timo Werner is probably going to be the most likely to score. But if it's 2 goals and Pulisic starts, then I'd say Pulisic gets one of them. And
if he starts,
but I mean, it's been really nice. Thank you very much, Jerry, for doing this.
Come on, Sesh. I've been really excited to do this.
Dude. But it's been brilliant just talking Chelsea and Liverpool for like how many ever minutes this is. And hopefully we can do this sometime again. But hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I will be back next week with raw reactions from the Chelsea game and an episode previewing Arsenal's visit to Anfield. But until then, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I've been Seshadri. Goodbye.